Every new year, people try to change their habits when January comes around, but they all go about it the wrong way. And that's why the vast majority of people fail to make new habits. In this video, I'm going to talk about the most common reasons people fail to make habits and a psychological theory which will perfectly explain why we do what we do and why we don't do what we sometimes think we want to do. So here's the first thing to take note of. There are some people out there who think they want a new habit, but they don't. So they'll have these ideas of, I should lose weight, or I'd like to work out more. I'd like to eat a little cleaner. I'd like to brush my teeth twice a day. I'd like to be in a relationship. I'd like to leave my partner, whatever it may be. And yet they don't ever take action on it. Why? Why are there people who you've talked to, and maybe this is yourself, who wants to spend less time on social media, who wants to finally join that new gym, but they hesitate on doing it? And all they do is talk and talk and talk. And when you ask them when, they say, oh, someday, just not today. The first thing to note, folks, whenever we want to set a habit, is that there's some people who would like to change or who think they would like to change, but they actually don't. And they're just not being truthful with themselves. Hear me out. There's a lot of people out there, and the reason I like to use weight loss or weight gain, muscle mass gain, whatever it is because it's such a common goal out there. It's such a common habit of exercising. And here's the thing. People might like the result, but what they don't want to do is they don't want to put in the effort that it takes to get the result. It's like, I'd like to increase my muscle mass. Awesome. But I'm not willing to go to the gym 3 times a week and work on strength. So people will say things like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and yet they don't take action. Why? Because they don't actually want to change. They're not willing to make the sacrifice to change. So if I was a counselor and a person came up to me and let's say this is our 10th session together, we've been doing this for a couple months, I'd say, listen, Bill, you've paid me X amount of thousands of dollars. We've spent X amount of hours together. You haven't moved forward. We keep talking about change, but you aren't doing it. From my perspective, you don't actually want to change right now. And that's okay. Go home. Save your money. Stop wasting your time and stop wasting my time. And whenever you're actually ready to change, then come talk to me. So the first thing is, a lot of people who think they want to change actually don't want to. And as long as you're honest with yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. Would I like to look better physically? Yes. Am I willing to put in the time it takes to make the sacrifices that it takes to look like that? No, I don't want to. Awesome. Good. Fantastic. As long as you're honest with yourself, now you don't have to worry about making that silly thing about January 1st, I'm going to do this and wake up at 6 a.m. and blah, 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 blah. So you avoid all that stuff right from the get-go. Here's a psychological theory I would like to introduce to you, which tells you exactly why some people only talk about change, some people actually plan and do it, and how some maintain it over time. All right. So this is what what I like to call, this is what scientists call the stages of change. So they believe we have a couple of different stages that people go through when they want to either get rid of a new habit, get rid of an old habit and replace it with a new habit, or just engage in a new behavior. Now, this is evidence-based, and this is what we use whenever we're talking about, especially things like addiction, alcohol use, substance use, but we can really use this in any aspect of our lives. So here are the stages. Stage number 1 is called pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation means the person doesn't even know it's a problem. So maybe you do something in your everyday life, but you don't recognize it's a problem, or you don't think of it as a bad thing. Here's how to move from pre-contemplation to the second stage. Begin to ask yourself questions. What's the first thing you do in the morning? Do you scroll on your phone? For how long? Is that okay? How often do you work out? What do you do for hip mobility and hip training? What do you do for strength training? How much money are you making a week? Is there a creative endeavor that you would like to engage in that you haven't already engaged in? And what these questions do is they begin to bring awareness to you, which will leave you from the pre-contemplation stage to stage number 2, which is contemplation. So now you start to become self-aware. So when people say, I should really stop smoking, or I should start working out more, or I should ask her out, these people are in the contemplation stage because now they're thinking about, oh, these are things that I could do that could improve my life. So if you've pressed on this video, this episode, you probably have certain things that you've been thinking about. Oh, it'd be nice to start doing yoga. It'd be nice to go out to parties a little bit more. It'd be nice to start that business. Now, here's what we do to move from contemplation to the next step is we begin to think, what would my life look like if I did the things that I was thinking about? So if I started going to the gym twice a week, every week, for the next 3 years, what would my life look like? What would my body feel like? How would I feel like? What would my body look like? What would happen to my self-esteem? What would happen to my confidence? What would happen to my skills? What would happen to my heart, my brain, my muscles? And then when we begin to envision that destination, it can help push us into stage number 3, which is the preparation stage or the planning stage. This is when you're aware of the behavior or the habit, and you're actually starting to make a strategic plan of how to execute. So you're saying, okay, starting the new year, I want to be more fit. I want to take care of my health. I want to do that by working out. Okay, well, what does working out mean? Well, I should probably start off with something simple like cardio. Okay, I'm going to do cardio twice a week. That could be treadmill, that could be swimming, that could be running. All right, I'm going to do it twice a week. What days? You know what? I want to do it in the mornings before work, or maybe you want to do it in the mornings after work. When I finish work at 5, I'm going to go home, have dinner. Then I'm going to go to the gym from 7 until 7:45 on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. Boom. If you're starting to actually make time, create a schedule, put out blocks where you're saying, this is when I'm going to do what I want to do, you are in the preparation stage. And what takes us from preparation to stage number 4, action stage, is the very first day. So January 1st comes around, you've made these amazing habits in your head, you show up, and guess what? You go to the gym. You go, and that very first day, boom, you have executed on the strategic plan that you've made earlier. And you're in the action stage. Now you're going about it. Which leads us to the last stage, which is maintenance. Which means that you are consistent over time, which means you've engaged in a behavior once, and then you do it over and over and over and over again, consistently enough so that that behavior becomes a habit. Here's the reason why people fail to create new habits. They try to force themselves into a stage that they aren't already in. So in the very beginning, I said, you might think you want to change your behavior, but you don't actually want to. You might be in the contemplation stage of, it'd be nice to get a little bit more fit. And if I tell you, okay, let's go to the gym right now, I'm in the action stage. We don't align. You're going to push me. Nah, I don't want to. I'm still in the stage of just talking about it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So when you think about yourself or your friends and family and you want them to adapt new habits, keep this in mind. In your mind, when you talk to people, think about what stage of change are you in right now? Because if you're in the pre-contemplation stage and you you drink a can of Coke every day, and I tell you, you need to stop drinking cans of Coke, what are we doing? Well, he's in the pre-contemplation stage. He doesn't even think there's a problem. And you're telling him he should be in the action stage. And that's when, folks, change just does not happen. So the important takeaway here is if you're talking to someone, meet people at the stage they're at, not the stage you want them to be in. All right? And if this is yourself, recognize the stage you're in. Have you thought about a new habit? You've thought about it. Okay, great. Have you made a realistic plan of how to engage in this habit? Okay. Has there been a first day? Have you tried to engage in it? All right, great. Action. Have you done this for at least a week, 2 weeks, a month? If so, awesome. We're in the maintenance stage where it's going to become easier, might not be the right word, but you'll have to fight yourself less to do it. It's going to become a greater part of your everyday life. That doesn't mean that you won't have to use discipline to engage in the acts, such as going to the gym. But it will in the long term become easier than, I've never been to the gym. I'm intimidated of going to the gym. I don't know if I should go. The last 2 little takeaways I want everybody to keep in mind when they're thinking about New Year's and when they're thinking about resolutions is this. If you want to create a new habit, you identify which stage you're in and you move to the next one. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, once you've done that, you want to start as small as possible. I can't tell you how many friends I've talked to who don't work out at all and make some crazy goal like I'm going to work out 5 days a week. Or someone who sleeps around with different people and says, I'm going to go completely cold turkey. Folks, it's possible. But the greater the goal is, the bigger the probability of failure is. And what happens to a lot of people is they set a goal that's so high, they fail and they say, I knew I couldn't do it. They give up and they go back to their old ways. So I know in psychology, there's kind of been this meme of like, clean your room. And the idea is start so small that you can't fail. If you listen to podcasters who aren't big fans of therapy, one of the things that they'll say is, look, therapy is a waste of time. Don't waste your time with therapy. Go hit the gym instead. You know, and one of the things that is really strange to me is there's obvious health benefits of going to the gym. But if someone is experiencing depressive symptoms, they haven't showered for a couple of days and maybe their sleeping isn't great, they can't get out of bed. Like, for them to take a shower is like a huge accomplishment. And I'm telling that person to drive to the gym and work out? That's like telling them to climb up a mountain without wearing shoes. So we have to recognize where people are at, and we have to start small. Daniel, I don't want to do a hardcore 3-hour intense workout. That's fine. Can you go out for a walk? I don't know if I can leave my house. Okay. Can you put on a YouTube video at home and do like a fitness boxing workout at home, or a fitness yoga workout at home, or do some push-ups, sit-ups? Like, where are you at? What is the least amount of effort you're willing to put in? And let's start there. Oh, but what's 10 push-ups a day going to do? Folks, we all have to start somewhere. There was a time where I couldn't do a single push-up. And one of my happiest physical accomplishments in my life at that age was being able to do 10 push-ups in a row. 1 push-up in the 5. But we all have to start somewhere, right? And we have to remember that the big buff guy who walks into the gym, he didn't start off being able to bench 200 pounds. He started off not knowing what a bench press even was. So start so small just so you can get yourself going, and then I promise it'll snowball. The last takeaway I want to leave you with when you're building a habit: recognize that failure is inevitable. Now, when I say failure, you've listened to this whole video, you've made a plan, you know you've got this habit, you're going to go to the gym, and all of a sudden you miss a day. Recognize that failure is a part of it. Like, just because you fail to go to the gym, just because you fail to eat healthy, just because something, your habit doesn't work out here or there, doesn't mean you failed, doesn't mean you should abandon it. So someone says, I had the goal of going to the gym 3 times a week, and I only went once a week. I was a failure. It's like, plan for those weeks to happen. Because we don't care about the short term, really. We're interested in the long term. If you want to exercise twice a week, every week for the next 2 years, some days you're only going to be able to exercise once a week. And some days, maybe not at all. And that's okay. And if you have that mentality, it won't demoralize you when you fail to engage in that habit or in that behavior. Because instead of shaming yourself and telling yourself, see, I knew I couldn't do it, you're going to meet yourself with compassion and kindness and go, you know what? I didn't do 2 workouts this week. I want to make sure to do 2 next week. I want to hold myself accountable. Hell, maybe I'll add in a 3rd workout. So it's so important. Recognize the stage you're in. Start off so small. If going to the gym is too hard, go for a walk. If going for a walk is too hard, you can work out at home. Start so small that you can engage in it. And recognize that consistency in the long term is really important. So if you have to skip a workout tomorrow, it's actually not a big deal. What's a worse deal is you doing too much too soon, getting burned out, and then not wanting anything to do with it. My hope is we can take that stuff and apply it in a practical way to our everyday lives. Thank you for listening, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.